Hey there, welcome to East and West. Let's talk about killers. Released at the Sundance Film Festival in 2014, the film revolves around a psychopathic killer who murders women with an almost OCD-like level of detail, and then places recordings of the acts online, which apparently get over 20 million views. 20 million, huh? Kinda stretching the suspension of disbelief right now, but I'll roll with it. Meanwhile, 5,500 k's away in Jakarta is the secondary film plot. This part of the film follows a journalist who is just a complete wreck. Not only is he currently separated from his wife and daughter, but he's also neurotically trying to hunt down information against a guy who is basically both socially and legally completely untouchable. He's also one of the people who watches the videos of the other guy's work, and so ends up somewhat inspired to make videos like that of his own. So he starts hunting down the guys he's been tailing and ends up recording their deaths in the same manner. The original guy notices, contacts him, and that's when all the real drama actually starts. And to top it all off, back in Japan, there's also a subplot about the main guy taking an interest in a girl who he witnesses trying to kill her autistic brother. Although that particular storyline really doesn't amount to much. I really like the main guy in this. He's everything you would expect from a murderous psychopath. He's calm, collected, charming, and fond of a few dark jokes. It's actually really fun watching this guy talk about murder so casually. He scares off cranky old guys, picks up prostitutes, the guy's alright Casanova. The same, however, cannot be said about the other main lead. One of the taglines that they used for this movie was "Evil is undefined," which basically explains all the problems I have with this character, because nothing he does makes any sense whatsoever. I might have managed to describe the basic backstory and actions of this guy, but the thing is, nothing he ever does or says is ever given any real detail. There's no real reason why he watches the murder vids, the issues he has with his family are never clear, he's chasing after a guy whose crimes are never explicitly detailed, and he's obsessing over it for reasons that are never properly explained. Now, I suppose the go-to explanation for half these actions is, he's a psychopath, he's insane, he doesn't need a reason, but let me just clarify, that explanation only works for people that are already serial killers. But this is meant to be about the events that lead to him becoming a serial killer, so you gotta give us a bit more detail here, guys. Now, in the film's favor, okay, I don't think this was meant to be a serious film. There's not really much in the way of story or anything like that. This is meant to simply be mindless entertainment. Very dark entertainment, granted, but still in the mindless, just sit back and watch sort of way. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some points in this film that are quite hard to watch, as well as some really tense moments, but at the same time, it's not really supposed to be really deep or anything. The basic working of the whole film is that one of the two guys finds a target, kills them, and then the cycle repeats. And you'd think that would get boring, but it really doesn't, even in a 2.5-hour long film. They managed to do a really good job at actually keeping your attention, most of which is based around simply comparing the two leads. One of them, he's new, he's kind of brash, he's motivated by personal reasons, and just overall doesn't really know what he's doing. While the other one is experienced, calculating, and just downright insane. And as the film continues, this contrast really starts getting pushed to the limits. The main guy, he starts lashing out, he starts killing people for basically any little thing they do to annoy him, and he somehow ends up being even more insane, if that's even possible. While the new guy ends up becoming, well, also more insane. Yeah, he doesn't start becoming cold or methodical or anything, he just starts getting crazier. Except in his case, going insane means actively losing his mind, so not the most advantageous of character developments. And the problem here, once again, lies with the Indonesian guy. Okay, so yes, psychopaths, they kill for no reason whatsoever, alright? I saw the start of this movie, I kinda get the gist at this point. But the thing is, the closest thing to a plotline in this film is about this guy's journey to being one of those characters, even if it is completely unintentional. And it makes no sense. And the biggest offender of the reasons why it doesn't make any sense is the actual event that causes him to start turning. The first time he kills someone, okay, it's nothing, alright? It's not planned, it's not an accident, it's not even him lashing out in a fit of rage. What happens is the guy randomly winds up getting mugged and ends up killing his attackers while he's trying to stay alive. And yet the first thing he thinks of when he regains his senses for what happens is, I'm going to record these people dying and place it up online. Okay, I'll ignore the fact that everything I saw suggested that this was a site where you actually uploaded you killing people, not just people dying. I would imagine that goes kind of against their upload policy. But if that wasn't random enough, it becomes even more random the next time he starts thinking about killing people. Which incidentally is something I actually like about this, because what they actually do is that they start showing the ways he starts thinking about killing people, as well as the ways he actually ends up doing it, which That actually is something I thought was a really interesting idea. I really wish they did a lot more with that. But anyway, the next time he thinks about killing people, it's at the family dinner table. About the people that are there. Kind of a pretty big leap to go from killing in self-defense to planning mass family homicide. Even for a psychopath, I don't think you would get used to the idea of murder that quickly. Speaking of, that's actually something about the entire film in that how it handles the massive amount of killings that actually end up going on within it. They really go out their way to try and make sure that the tone between killings is never the same twice in a row. It always kind of fluctuates between leaving it up to the imagination to being darkly humorous to being, as mentioned, really difficult to watch. There's a lot of emotional states in this film. Except, of course, for when this guy does it, in which case there's basically only two states. Stuff happens abruptly, or stuff happens slower, but for no adequately explained reason. And then he whines about it, and then some other stuff happens. This trait does not improve as the film goes on. I really like the way that this film is shot. Okay, there's a lot of really stylized camera work here, most of which is either involving shaky cam or these really kind of weird locked angles that they have. Which in any other film would probably get annoying, but one of the recurring motifs in this movie is, in fact, cameras and recordings. And so when these types of shots come into play, they follow the same type of effect and appearance that you would normally see in a found footage style film. Which means it ends up comparing and enunciating, and I really like the shot here by the way, and contrasts itself to the camera work that actually ends up occurring within the film. And the absolute pinnacles of the camera work in this film always appear whenever we enter the house of the main guy, which, based on a few of the outside shots, I think they're suggesting that it might be based in Aokigahara. I mean, I highly doubt they actually filmed it there for obvious reasons, but at the very least, I'm pretty sure this place is meant to be based on that location. Getting back to what I was saying, this house, just in general, is magnificent to work with. There's so many, long corridors and large rooms. I mean, you probably wouldn't think of it with all the minimalist decor that's there, but the place just lends itself so perfectly to some really creative and just stunning frames. It's beautiful. And the best of all of that is whenever they start filming one particular room in the house that basically explains a lot about this guy's mental state. It doesn't appear much, it only appears for 5 minutes in the last third, but what I like about this place is that even though I can't even say it's heavily implied, now it is very explicitly stated what's in there, but through some really astoundingly done camera work and angles, you never actually see properly what's inside. You always sort of half glimpse it around things. There's never a time where you actually get a proper shot of it. Those scenes alone are just fascinating to watch. Unfortunately, I now have to counteract everything I was just praising about, because this film has fight scenes, which, and I'm not exaggerating here, are some of the worst shot fight scenes that I have seen in quite a while. I mean, I can barely make out a single thing that is happening in these scenes. It is absolutely appalling how badly shot these are. And while this does apply to both of our main characters, it is, somehow, worse when it involves the Indonesian guy. Seriously, mate, why do I have nothing good to say about you in this review? If the camera work wasn't already nauseating enough, then we need to get to the acting, which is, hands down, the absolute worst acting in this entire film. And I honestly can't tell, okay? I don't know if this guy is just completely overacting his part, or if he's not even remotely close to acting enough. I don't know which one it is. All I know is, it's hilarious. It is actually hilarious how bad this guy acts in these scenes. It is that bad. Now, personally, I haven't seen this actor in anything else he's done, okay? So, maybe he's better in those ones, maybe he's not. All I know is, in this particular circumstances, no. Now, the final thing I'll say about this movie is to do with the sound, alright? Not the music, which is actually pretty solid, but just the pure sound, which it's all over the place, alright? It just continually fluctuates between insanely quiet to speaker-destroyingly loud. I don't even understand how this works. And half the time, there's not even any real reason to it. I mean, okay, during the tense scenes, I get it, alright? Music starts building, and then it starts getting louder. It then continues gaining decibels until it can compete with a jackhammer, but still, that makes sense. But then other times, okay, there's one particular scene where a guy is about to get tortured, okay? He's not even getting tortured yet, he's just about to. And then everything goes quiet, alright? The music cuts out, the voices turn way down, everything basically starts running on mute. And then a couple of minutes later, suddenly it's back up to normal volume again. And for some reason this is particularly prevalent whenever they start speaking in English. Okay, throughout the entire film there's multiple points where they just talk in English for 2 straight minutes. and every time they do it, the sound just cuts way down. I have to, like, double my volume. And to top it all off, they're speaking English. That does not stop sounding strange. All in all, while simply because of the subject matter, this definitely isn't going to be for everyone, if you're someone that doesn't mind the darker stuff, this is actually a pretty good film. I don't think you'd end up being too disappointed if you decided to watch it. I give this film 3 tasers and 9 hammers. So that was my review of Killers. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.